Welcome back to the former member of the European Parliament and leader of the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage. Nigel, thank you for joining us. You know, Nigel, we were sitting there, we were watching the returns in that room, and it looked like the President Trump was doing very, very well. I will tell you, when Arizona flipped from what should have been what everyone thought was going to be a President Trump win, I don't even know if it flipped, but Fox News called it fairly early. The room really changed. Tell us what do you think? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I was with you. I mean, it all felt slightly euphoric almost, didn't it? And then Fox calls Arizona for Biden. Goodness knows why they did or why they chose to do it at that time. And then, yeah, ever since then, it's been a complete and utter nail biter. Sadly, I predicted much of this back in August. I said that on the day, on the vote, the president would win and win comfortably, but that there was a massive problem with postal voting. Let me tell you why I said that back in August. Tony Blair introduced widespread postal voting in England 20 years ago. Since that time, we haven't just seen fraud, we haven't just seen intimidation, we've seen problems with the verification of those that get the postal votes, and person after person goes to prison. So postal voting is open for abuse, and I always feared that would happen. Now, if it turns out that Joe Biden has won this fairly and squarely, there's no argument. But if the president can prove, if he can prove that there's been fraud, there's been intimidation, there've been postal votes sent out, for example, to dead people, if the president can prove that, then we could be in for some of the most difficult few weeks that America's ever faced.
Yeah, you know, it blows me away. The representational democracy that America is the best political system on the planet, bar none. And you can weigh in on that, being from England. But also we have some of the best technology on the planet as well. It just blows me away that in 2020 we're still worrying about paper ballots being thrown in ditches, whether or not things are postmarked on time, and whether or not we can read the proper signature on a piece of paper. How are we so powerful, so big, and yet so incapable of seemingly putting on a fair election?
Well, I guess it's because state by state, you know, they're in charge of the ballots, and there doesn't seem to be, to me, you know, enough of a federal set of guidelines by which people should behave. I've no doubt some states will have conducted this perfectly well, other states won't have done. So some sort of degree here, some degree of all working in step would be good. I also, Eric, find it unbelievable that you could post your vote yesterday with a stamp mark that said it was before 5 o'clock, and that vote arrives today or arrives tomorrow and can still be counted. I mean, that clearly is absolutely ludicrous. And I must say this, that in the first 2 years of the Trump presidency, the Republican Party machine should have made sure that it got legislation through Congress to make sure that voting was fair and probably done in this country, and it never even tried to do so. And now I feel it is paying a price.
You know, and you look at some of the states that have pushed back for what you point out, postal voting or mail-in voting, as we say here. Yeah. Democrat governors, look at Pennsylvania, look at North Carolina, look at Michigan, look at Wisconsin. Why is it that the Democrat states, the governors of Democrat states, are all pushing for this really antiquated system of voting and counting the votes?
It's very simple. The left are better at cheating than the right. And they know it works to their advantage. And I've seen it. I've seen the Labour Party doing this in the United Kingdom. You know, I mean, for example, I've seen parts of England with very big Muslim communities where everyone gets registered for a mail-in ballot, to use the American terminology. They all get collected up. They all get filled in by one person. And someone turns up at the polling station with a supermarket carrier bag saying, there you go, there's 100% vote for Labour. We've seen this in the UK. I'm fighting for reform of it in the UK. I know it was difficult here with the pandemic, and ways had to be found to allow people to vote. But to allow mail-in voting on this massive, massive scale without the right checks and balances, I mean, look, the president has a point. It is a disgrace.
You know, Nigel, a friend of mine emailed me this morning. It's like, you know, the left, they fight like hell. They're scrappy. They fight when they think they're about to lose. And the right gets their butt kicked and they say, okay, we lost, and they walk away. Why is it the left is so good at fighting for the win?
Because they believe they have a moral superiority over those of us on the right, which means they're prepared to go to any ends to achieve their goals. And you're quite right about the apologetic conservatives that we've lived with for decades. But there is one distinction, one difference here, and that's a bloke that you and I know, and his name is Donald J. Trump. And if you think Trump is going to accept this lying down, well, I certainly don't. And if it does turn out that Biden's the next president, you know, normally ex-American presidents go off and drink coffee and play golf. This guy ain't going away.
You know, and Nigel, you know, leading up to this, there were people on the right, very, very popular names of people on the right, including the Trump campaign, saying, look, there's going to be a lot of voter fraud. And I felt like they were just kind of like, I don't know, preparing us for maybe not some good news. I'm blown away at the amount of shenanigans that are going on in state after state after state. At one point, one state, Michigan, had 130,000 votes come in and were read, and something like more than 100,000 were Democrat. It's just so, I don't know, scary, icky, gross. It just feels dirty. Nigel,
but it was so obvious. Yeah. It was so obvious. You know, across the other side of the pond, we've made these errors, and I'm afraid America has walked straight into this trap. And you know, let's see. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if the Trump campaign gathers the evidence of intimidation, of fraud, you know, of incorrect verification, that this is going to go into the courts, the Supreme Court, and America's going to be paralyzed for a very, very long time, which says that the next administration absolutely, if it wants to restore faith in the voting system, has to put some reforms into place, and to do so pretty damn quickly.
You heard it right there. They've been there, did that. Nigel Farage, let's not fall into that same ambush and trap that you're talking about. Nigel, thank you.
Thank you.